Okay. There's a lot on, the president put a lot on the agenda, so it took us a while in there to go through it all. But anyway, I want to thank Senators Klobuchar, Schatz, and Murphy for joining us. Moments after taking the oath of office, President Trump declared that it was the dawning of a golden age in America. But on day one of his presidency, it's clear Donald Trump's golden age is not for the working and middle class. In fact, it's a golden age for special interests, for wealthy elites, and for corporate executives of big corporations. On day one, Donald Trump signed over 150 executive orders dismantling years of progress on lowering costs for American families, on energy jobs, on lowering prescription drug prices, public health, and public safety. With a flick of a pen, President Trump took steps to make it harder to enroll in health care and made Medicaid more restrictive. He even made it harder for Americans to save on prescription drugs. He made it a golden age for big pharma and big pharma executives. He cleared the way for big oil polluters and halted leasing of offshore wind farms, making it a golden age for oil company executives. Nothing that President Trump did on day one lowered grocery prices. Nothing helped Americans achieve their dream of owning a home. Nothing will help working families earn more and save more. Who exactly is Donald Trump's golden age for? Not for working Americans, and not for your family, and not for you. President Trump's golden age is one for America's biggest drug companies, who now can worry less about lowering their prices. It's a golden age for America's richest oil executives, who want nothing more than to kill clean jobs and deepen America's dependence on fossil fuels and raise the price for you at the pump. It's a golden age for America's top 1%, who want another $1 trillion tax break, paid for on the backs of working families. And sadly, it's a golden age for lawlessness and lawbreakers who were pardoned yesterday by President Trump. There is no other way to describe President Trump's pardon of January 6th offenders than un-American. It is so deeply un-American to do that, to pardon them. And let's be clear, President Trump didn't just pardon protesters. He pardoned individuals convicted of assaulting police officers. He pardoned individuals convicted of seditious conspiracy. And he pardoned those who attempted to undermine our democracy. It's a betrayal of the highest order of our Capitol Police officers who risked their lives to keep us safe. It just is so cruel to the Sitnick family who lost a police officer. When President Trump talks about a golden age, this is what he really means. Richer drug companies, more powerful oil executives, freedom from criminals who attack our police officers and attack our democracy. It ain't a golden age for you, average American, that's for sure. Amy.
Okay. Thank you very much, Senator Schumer. When we were together last, I talked about how we as Democrats are willing to find common ground with Republicans and the administration if we're going to actually help the people they said they want to help, to bring costs down, whether it's housing, whether it's child care, whether it's health care. But we're going to stand our ground when they hurt those people. And that is exactly what is happening in this first executive order, as well as the announcement by the Ways and Means Committee over in the House for how they are going to look to pay for their tax cuts for billionaires. I'm focused today on the pharmaceutical industry. As you all know, they had a sweetheart deal for years when it came to Medicare negotiation for our seniors. And after years of trying, it was Democrats and Democrats alone that undid that deal and made sure that we got lower costs. But now in what the president has dubbed the golden age. We're seeing the goldest of the golden age getting the benefit of this. That would be pharmaceutical companies if we reverse these policies. So they've done it in two ways. One is what they've just announced over in the House of ways they want to cut things on the back of the prescription drug negotiations and some of those programs. And the second is Trump's executive order. For health care plans, he cut the Affordable Care Act enrollment period short and reversed policies that made it affordable for parents to add their kids to their health insurance. He's also making it harder for 24 million people to keep coverage year to year by revoking automatic re-enrollment in Affordable Care Act plans. For prescriptions, he ended a program encouraging Medicare prescription drug plans to offer generic drugs for a flat $2 copay for common chronic conditions. So of course we're going to oppose that and do everything we can to bring back competitive principles and cheaper drugs for our seniors. The other thing to watch, and this is key, on the Medicare negotiations, the last group that former President Biden announced was a $1.5 billion saving in out-of-pocket, $1.5 billion with common drugs like Januvia and Jardiance and Eliquis and Xarelto. Now, just at the end of this administration, the last one, they announced 15 new drugs, including weight loss drugs like Ozempic, Ribellus, and Wegovy. These drugs, also millions and millions of people on them. Those are the next set of drugs that should be negotiated. So we as Democrats are going to hold this administration accountable for actually negotiating these drugs and getting us the next 15 and the next 15. When one set of drugs saves $1.5 billion in 1 year out of pocket and then creates incentives for the companies to lower costs for people who are not seniors, that is true competition. That is how you bring the money down. And so we are, one, going to oppose these actions that are going to add costs to working people to help the oligarchs and everyone else that we saw around the Capitol, and to make sure that, and when it comes to pharma, that they don't get their sweetheart deal back. And we're also going to hold this administration accountable when it comes to reducing prescription drugs under Medicare Part D for our seniors. Thank you.
Senator Schatz.
I guess it wasn't about the price of eggs after all. You know, anyone who's been involved in planning a wedding understands that seating arrangements are important. They are significant. They are embedded with meaning. And where you put people on the inaugural stage is a strict definition of where you think they rank. And so it wasn't a trivial thing that the wealthiest people to ever walk this planet, who control our communications platforms, were seated in front of the cabinet itself, which, by the way, has a few billionaires and 100 millionaires, but not as wealthy as the people in front, with proximity to power. And that's the point we have to underscore today, which is it was never about reducing the price you pay at the pump. It was never about reducing the price you pay for your mortgage or your rent or your insurance or your grocery bills. It was always about cutting Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, Social Security, public education, in order to pay for the largest tax cut in human history. That's what this is. They are ripping you off.
So we all remember when the oil industry paraded down to Mar-a-Lago at the beginning of last year, and they cut a deal with Donald Trump, widely reported that they would donate $1 billion, that's still a lot of money, to his election campaign in exchange for breaks for the oil and gas industry, to allow those companies and those CEOs to make even more money. Well, the oil industry made good on their promise, and they backed Donald Trump in this election. And yesterday, he made good on his side of the deal, handing those corporations and those CEOs millions and millions more in profit and salary. This is a grift, plain and simple. If you help out Donald Trump, he'll help you out. The billionaire CEOs that were standing behind him, they have no interest in cutting costs for average Americans. Jeff Bezos wants contracts to keep up with Elon Musk. Meta wants the FTC lawsuit dropped so that they can make more in profits. Apple wants to make sure that it can continue to make its phones in China. None of them are interested in lowering costs. They're interested in cutting deals with Donald Trump to make their companies and their executives richer and richer. And I appreciate Senator Schumer talking about the most unconscionable thing that happened yesterday, the pardoning of 1,500 rioters, many of them engaged in brutal acts of violence against police officers here. And that's an affront against democracy when assault, political violence becomes legitimized and celebrated, but it's all part of the same story. Because this White House is about one simple thing, and you saw it crystal clear yesterday. If you help out Donald Trump personally, if you donate $1 billion to his campaign, if you storm the Capitol in his name to keep him in power, he'll help you. But if you're just an ordinary gas station owner out there or a security guard who goes to work for close to minimum wage, he doesn't care about you. He cares about the powerful people who can help him. He cares about the people who will engage in violence to keep him in power.
Leader Schumer. You mentioned, obviously, your concern about the Trump article. What about Joe Biden? Was it appropriate for him to give a blanket pardon to his family on the way out the door?
We're looking at the future.
Leader Schumer.
Yes.
On tariffs, the president is threatening 25% tariffs against Canada and Mexico. Do you see that as an abrogation of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Agreement?
Well, look, the bottom line is if these tariffs are going to raise the costs for average American families who have to pay more for goods as a way to pay for tax cuts on the rich, that would be a travesty. It would hurt average American families and would be a very, very bad thing to do. Yes?
Do you allow a time agreement, or should Democrats allow a time agreement on John Radcliffe? And is there a risk in Democrats allowing these nominees to be spent?
Well, John Radcliffe is, since he is not a cabinet official, is only 2 hours. But we're going to look at each nominee carefully and determine what to do. Yes?
You talked about standing up to the Trump administration, to the Russian Republicans, holding them accountable. Can you talk a little about what that looks like? What is the Democrat strategy for pushing back?
Well, you're seeing it today. I mean, we are exposing what actually these EOs do and who they benefit and who they hurt. This is a relentless drumbeat. We're doing the same thing at the hearings. Our theme is we're on the side of working families, they're on the side of the wealthy, the well-privileged, the well-connected. And we're doing that on everything we do. And just as when we got into the majority in 2017, we started out doing it, we kept doing it, we're going to persist in doing it, and it's going to be very, very successful. Yes?
So Trump yesterday repealed Biden's AI executive order, and last Congress there was a push to codify parts of that. The AI Safety Institute might be at stake. How are you guys planning to proceed with that?
Yeah, look, I believe in the AI Safety Institute. I believe in NAIR. We're working with our Republican colleagues to try and have a good legislation that allows innovation in AI, but has safeguards to prevent the very bad things from happening.
Do you
Thank you.
support a filibuster of the Hegseth nomination?
Leader Schumer, have you seen the affidavit?